All right, 8th grade, here we are with the summary of the Inn of Lost Time, and this is a rather long short story. But this story follows two Ronin. If you don't remember what those are, go back, watch the background information video I posted for this story. The elder one of the two is named Zenta, and the younger one is named Matsuzo. These are our two main characters. And they're sitting with their swords, as you would as Ronin. Remember, these are masterless samurai, listening to a story told by farmers to their children about Urashima Taro. And in this story, Urashima Taro is a young man who is invited by an underwater princess. We would probably think of this as a mermaid, but that's a sort of Western view. And he goes and he spends wonderful weeks with her. But he thinks he'd like to return to his family. And the princess gives him a box, bids him adieu. But he goes back and he discovers that everyone he's ever known is basically old or dead. And that he's been underwater for over 70 years. And he is stunned, and he opens the gift, the box that he gave her, and is instantly turned into an old man. And Matsuzo laments this tragedy, and the farmer says he wouldn't sell a year of his life for treasure, not even a year for a single gold piece. And Zenta says this reminds him of a tale from his own youth that he is not proud of, but he is convinced by Matsuzo to tell it. And so we're getting a recollection. We've had two framing devices already in here, and this is our second meta-narrative. If you don't know what those are, go watch the other informational video that's posted today. Both important for this. Zenta explains that at the time he's working for this cheapskate of a merchant named Tokubai. And Tokubai will do anything for profit. As Zenta mentions, he trades with the Portuguese. And here's a little social studies cross-curricular. Japan was heavily isolationist for a long time, till the United States sends Commodore Perry over, and he basically held them at gunpoint saying, open the country, or I'm going to open fire. And then Japan had to start trading with the United Kingdom, France, Russia, the United States, the Netherlands, and Spain, I believe. But there was still a distrust of gaijin, or foreigners, in Japan. I mean, Christianity and Catholicism was illegal in Japan really up until after World War II. There's a lot of martyrs that come from Japan from this time period. But they pass over several more expensive inns, and they following the smell of delicious rice. They're hungry. It's late. Zenta's looking at bamboo like, man, that would be good with soy sauce right now. He's that hungry. They are waited on when they get to the inn by a woman with 6 fingers on her left hand. They talk about how they are cheaper than other inns, and Tokubai is all about this. He is on board. He's like, you know what? There's no other guests here. I bet we can get some extra service without paying anything extra. The male innkeeper is also a Ronin, and he and Zenta regard each other. He explains that he had to become an innkeeper because he was laid off, not enough time, or not enough money to be had. Meanwhile, you got guys like Tokubai who are richer than warlords because of their wealth and all the trading they do. Wine continues to be served, and if any of you are students of narratives, you at this point should be suspicious, like, hey, they haven't fed them anything, they haven't eaten anything, and if you know how alcohol works, the odds of them getting drunk go way up the less food they've eaten. Zenta and Tokubai both fall asleep and wake up on the ground. Tokubai is instantly afraid they've been drugged and robbed and starts yelling at Zenta that he's a terrible bodyguard, but he has all his money. Zenta still has his swords. And then Tokubai's like, ha ha, suckers, we didn't even have to pay for the food and the lodging. I'm such a good businessman. But they wake up, they're in the bamboo shoot, they look again, and they approach the inn, but this time it seems older, more decrepit. Then the door is opened by an old woman with 6 fingers on her left hand. They insist they are not innkeepers. Zenta's there and he sees damaged artwork. He was looking at artwork earlier. They had a beautiful painting there, and he sees this painting and it's slightly damaged. No one would ruin a work of art like that, so that's kind of stunning. Tokubai's like ready to freak out. The woman explains that her father used to be a Ronin who kept it in hard times. Zenta and Tokubai are like, oh no, this can't be. But if this is true, as she's now an old crone, they've lost at least 50 years. Tokubai laments the loss of his business and his young wife. And the old woman points out that his wife is probably an old crone like her, sort of laughing at his expenses. And this sort of tips Zenta off to say, that's weird. Her personality is awfully different. The man claiming to be the woman's son then warned them of a priestess whom they consider to be a fraud, who claims to be able to send them back at the cost of 1 gold piece per year. And, she claims there's an evil spirit that infests the bamboo grove. And Tokubai tries to commend himself. He's like, well, maybe only 30 pieces. And then the old woman's like, oh, yeah, then your wife will only be middle-aged when you go back. Zenta continuing to be suspicious, he goes for a walk and he observes that the bamboo has not grown, and begins to put the puzzle together. The painting on the wall was mirrored. It was flipped, so clearly it's a different painting. He thinks about how you can make the roof darker. Oh, that's easy. Put a little ash and soot over it, makes the building look instantly more decrepit. Now, he can't figure out the old woman. And he's like, how can you make a young person old? And he concludes that, well, there must be a second person involved in the con. And he's able to put that together. He's there, and he stops Tokubai from paying, and they leave. Tokubai is upset that Zenta doesn't slaughter the innkeepers for trying to scam them. And Zenta's like, well, they only did it because they sent such a big, fat, easy target like you. Again, merchants are the bottom of society in feudal Japan, if you recall. So even though Zenta works for Tokubai, everyone still looks down on him. Back in the present, Matsuza asks why they didn't check on the inn and see if they are honest innkeepers. And Zenta tells him to look around and reveals that the woman serving him tea is the same woman as before. Reveals that the Ronin who kept the inn did get service and ended up dying in a war. Sort of honorable way to go. And that the old woman was in fact her grandmother. And that now they've been honest for many years. They offer Matsuzo more tea, and he looks at it and rather nervously declines, just in case they haven't fully reformed. And that's the summary of this story. This will be on the next quiz we have. And take care, 8th grade. I will see you on the next stream.